So this lesson is over solving quadratic equations by graphing. So when they talk about solving quadratic equations, what does that mean? What are you looking for when you solve a quadratic equation? When you look at the graph, what are you looking for? Where it crosses the x-axis, that's what you said? That's what you're looking for, right. The x-intercepts. So the solutions of a quadratic equation are the values for x where the graph crosses or intersects the x-axis. The solutions are sometimes referred to as roots or zeros of the function. So if they tell you find the roots, find the zeros, solve the quadratic, that's all the same thing, okay? Sometimes you will have to estimate the solution. The solution may be between two integers. Give the integers on the x-axis where the graph crosses or the integers that it crosses between. A quadratic equation may have one solution, two solutions, or no solution. If the graph doesn't cross the x-axis, there will be no solution. If it intersects in one point, there will be one solution. If the graph crosses the x-axis twice, there will be two solutions. The solutions will be the value of x where y is 0, or f of x equals 0. Okay, so on the first one, first three actually, they're giving you a graph, and you are just determining the x-intercepts. So on number 1, you can see that the graph is intercepting the x-axis here at -4 and here at +1. So all you would need to write down for your answer is that x equals -4 and x equals 1. And that's your answer. Okay, any questions? So on number 2, we're doing the same thing. We're just finding where it crosses the x-axis. So here's your y-axis. X is going to cross at, the graph is going to cross where x is 1, and the graph is going to cross where x is -2. Any questions? So those two graphs, they both have two answers, but this next one on number 3 is only going to have one answer because it just touches the x-axis in that one place. And that's going to be where x is, what? What's the value for x here? -4. So that's going to be it there.
When stating your x values,
yeah.
Is there a specific order you want it to be in?
No, there's not a specific order. I kind of wrote it in different ways up there, so I didn't go from left to right every time. All right, so let's look at number 4. We're going to solve by graphing. If exact roots cannot be found, state the consecutive integers where the roots are located. And I'll tell you what that means when we get to it. We're going to do a problem exactly like that. So first, we're going to be using the calculator on this lesson. The first thing you want to be able to do is enter that equation into your calculator. So looking at the screen here, you have this graphing screen, and then you have these buttons right below it. And this is for TI-84 or 83. If you have a Casio, it's different, and you'll need to look through your manual for that, your owner's manual. And we have the Y equals button, and then you have a window button, a zoom button, trace, and one for graphing. Okay, so to type in your equation, we're going to go to the Y equals screen. So let's press that Y equals. And if you have something that's on your screen already, you can clear it by just pressing the clear button, and it'll clear it out for you. Okay, so I want to type in x squared plus 6x plus 8. So your variable key is right next to your green alpha key. So we're going to press the variable key, and you should have an x on your screen. Now we want to square it, so we're going to go down here to that x squared key that I was talking about earlier. It's cat-a-corner to the number 7 on your keypad. So we're going to press the x squared button, and it's going to give you x squared. Then we're going to type all the rest of it in without any spaces or anything. So plus 6x plus 8. Is everybody good? Okay. So I always press enter after I put in an equation. Some calculators it matters, some calculators it doesn't matter to press enter. Okay, so now press your graph key, and we'll look at the graph. Does everybody have the same graph? Okay, so I want to find the solution. I want to find where it crosses the x-axis. Now you can look at this and you can see that it appears to cross where x is -2 and x is -4. But sometimes it'll be really close to an x value, an integer, but it won't actually cross there. So I want to make sure that I have zeros for the y, where those x's are -2 and -4. So what you want to do is, I'm going to go to the table that is right above the graph key. So you've got to hit the second function, graph, and it gives you a table of values. Now the ones that I was interested in is -2 and -4, so I'm going to scroll down, use the arrow key, and go down so I can look at the table where x is -2 and -4. And here, where x is -4, you can see that y is 0, so it crosses exactly at that point. And then the other x value, -2, y is 0 also, so it crosses exactly at that point. So you look at the y values, you look for zeros in the y values, but x is your actual answer. So for number 4, you're going to have that x is -4 and x is -2, because those are the two places where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's type in number 5 into your y equals screen. So you can just press the y equals and it'll take you back to that screen, and we can clear that out. On number 5, since it starts with a negative on your variable, you want to use the negative button down at the bottom of your calculator. Don't use the minus key unless it's in the equation. So we're going to start it with this little negative button down here. Okay, so we got -x squared plus 6x minus 10. And this 0 on your equation is the same thing as the y. Okay, so any equation that you type in, you need to have it equal to 0. And that 0 is the same thing as your y. All right, so let's graph this one. And it's not intersecting the x-axis at all. So since it doesn't intersect the x-axis, this is just going to be no solution. Now later in the year, we're going to have this type of situation where it doesn't cross the x-axis, but you will have a solution. But right now, it's no solution. Any questions? Okay, let's look at number 6. Number 6 is a little bit different as well. Go ahead and type in your equation. I'm going to give you a second to do that, and then I'm going to point out a few things on your calculator. Is everybody ready? Okay, so look up at the calculator on the screen, and I'm going to press graph. And see up here in this corner by the battery, it has that little yellow swirling thing. That means that the calculator is thinking and it's trying to graph and it's trying to do all the things that you're instructing it to. And when it's doing that, when it's thinking like that, you can't type anything else in. Some people try to type stuff in whenever it's thinking and nothing happens. So I just want you to know, you just need to wait until it's not doing that anymore, and then you can do other stuff, okay? So you just got to give it a little bit of time. Okay, so on this one you can see from the graph that you're crossing in between integers. You're not crossing exactly at 0 or at 1, you're crossing in between, and then you're crossing in between integers here. So let me show you what to look for on the table when that kind of thing happens. First, before we go to the table, I want to talk about what the graph is doing. See, up here on these above the x-axis, all those values for y are positive. And once it crosses the x-axis and goes below, now those y values are negative. So that's the sign change you're going to look for in the table. Okay, so press second and table. And I'm going to scroll down because I said that it was between 0 and 1. So I want to scroll down and get some of those values onto my screen. Okay. So I have -2 for x at the top, 19 for y. Y is staying positive the first 3 values, and then it goes from a +3 to a -2. So that's where it's crossing the x-axis, when it goes from +3 to -2. So again, you look at the y's, but the x value is actually your answer. So it's crossing the x-axis between this 0 and 1 right here. So my answer is between 0 and 1. Okay, but I have 2 intersections, so I want to find the other one. And here it is right here. I have a negative y, and now it's going back to positive. So that's my second intersection of the x, and that's between 5 and 6. So I'd write in between 5 and 6. Okay, any questions? All right, so I do have one more example for you. This one's not on your paper, so you might want to add it on the back or something. Okay, so the problem is we're going to use a quadratic equation to find 2 real numbers that satisfy each situation or show that no such number exists. So the situation that we're given is that their sum is -15 and their product is -54. So I'm going to write the quadratic equation that will help me find the 2 numbers that fit this description. Okay, the first equation is from the sum of the 2 numbers, and they're 2 different numbers, so I'm going to use x and y. So I'll have x plus y equals -15. The second description is that the product is -54. So what does product mean? Multiplication. Okay, so that one I'm going to have x times y equals -54. So I want to come up with a quadratic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this first equation, which is linear, to solve for y. And then I'm going to substitute that value in to the multiplication problem. And that'll help me get the quadratic that they want. So when I solve for y in this linear problem, I get y equals -x minus 15. I'm going to take this value and plug it into my product. So x times -x minus 15 equals -54. I'm going to distribute the x. -x squared minus 15x equals -54. Okay, and before I can type it into my calculator and look at the graph, I need to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to move the x squared and the 15x to the right side so that they're positive. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, I know it's going to make it either open up or down, but it's going to cross at the same place. So you could do it either way. Okay, so I have x squared plus 15x minus 54 is my quadratic. So I'm going to go back to my calculator and type that into the y equals screen. Okay, and graph it. And all I'm getting is this line going across the window. I know it has to be a parabola because it's x squared. So the problem is that the graph is too big to fit on my screen. So you could do a couple of things. You could go to your window and adjust the window. You could do zoom. Let's do zoom. Let's try that one out. Press zoom, and you see where it says zoom out. You can scroll down to that and press enter, and it should zoom out a little bit. I pressed enter twice, and there it gives you a bigger window. You still can't see the bottom of it, but I don't really need to see the bottom of it. I just need to see where it crosses the x-axis. Alright, so I can see it's way out here on this negative, looks like around 20, and then it's really close to the y-axis over here, like at negative 3 or something. So let's look at the table. Press second and table. Okay, so here's one value where y is 0. So you got x is 3. And let's go to the big negative numbers for x, because that was where the other one was that I saw. And here's my other 0 for y, where x is negative 18. So that would be your other number. And that's your answer.